What if I told you that everything you have been told about attraction is incomplete, and that the reason younger women overlook you has nothing to do with your age, your money, or your genetics? Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will challenge the way you see yourself. Most men spend years trying to upgrade the wrong things. They chase muscles, trends, expensive clothes, louder personalities. They believe attraction is about adding more charm, more dominance, more effort. But what if the real power is in subtraction, in removing desperation, in removing nervous energy, in removing the subtle behaviors that silently weaken your presence? I am going to break down the physical traits that trigger attraction on a psychological level. Not surface level advice, not recycled dating cliches. We are going deeper into body language, into nervous system control, into the silent signals your body is sending every second without you realizing it. And here is the truth. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You will start noticing why some men walk into a room and instantly command attention without saying much. You will understand why others, despite trying harder, remain invisible. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about mastering what you already have. If you watch until the end, you will never again confuse loudness with confidence or effort with attraction. You will understand the one trait that makes a man unforgettable. And once you embody it, you will not need to chase attention. Attention will come to you. Let us go deeper into the first point, because this is where most men completely misunderstand attraction. When I say presence in the body, I am not talking about muscles. I am not talking about height. I am not even talking about being conventionally handsome. I am talking about whether you actually inhabit your body with certainty. There is a psychological difference between a man who lives inside his head and a man who lives inside his body. The man who lives in his head is constantly calculating. He is monitoring how he is perceived. He is adjusting his posture every few seconds. He laughs too quickly. He shifts his weight when silence appears. He touches his face. He checks his phone. His body is restless because his mind is restlessness, and that restlessness is visible. Younger women are extremely perceptive when it comes to micro behaviors. They grew up in socially complex environments. They read tone shifts, posture changes, eye movements. Many of them have spent years filtering attention from insecure men their own age. So when they meet a man whose body is calm, grounded, and still, it immediately registers as different. Stillness is not passivity, it is controlled energy. Think about this carefully. In nature, the most dangerous animal in the room is not the one making noise. It is the one observing quietly. Power does not rush. Power does not twitch. Power does not seek permission to exist. When you are embodied, your movements are economical. You do not over-gesture. You do not lean forward desperately trying to prove interest. You do not collapse backward when challenged. You sit fully in your chair, your feet are planted, your shoulders are relaxed but not slouched. Your breathing is deep rather than shallow, because the body communicates safety before words ever do. Attraction is not just visual, it is nervous system based. A woman's body is constantly scanning for threat, instability, unpredictability. If your body appears chaotic, her nervous system will not relax around you. And without relaxation, there is no genuine attraction. This is why you can see two men in the same room, and the less physically impressive one is the one women gravitate toward. It is not because he is louder. It is not because he is trying harder. It is because he is settled inside himself. Presence signals that you are not trying to extract something. When a man is disconnected from his body, he often overcompensates. He speaks too much. He interrupts. He tries to dominate conversations verbally because physically he feels uncertain. But the man who is comfortable in his body does not need to dominate space aggressively. He occupies it naturally. There is a philosophical depth to this. To be embodied means you have accepted yourself. You are not fighting your height. You are not apologizing for your age. You are not shrinking your shoulders because you think someone else is better looking. You are not inflating your chest artificially to appear bigger. And that simplicity is powerful. Many younger men move quickly because they are trying to prove something. Their energy is impatient. Their movements are sharp and reactive, but maturity in the body moves slower, not lazy, not sluggish, intentional. When you reach for a glass, you reach calmly. When you turn your head, you do it without snapping. When you walk into a room, you do not scan frantically to see who is watching you. You walk as though you belong there. Belonging is embodied confidence. And here is something most people will never say openly. Younger women often feel overwhelmed by chaotic masculine energy, fast talking, fast moving, overly eager behavior. It feels unstable. It feels boyish. But a man whose physical energy is grounded creates contrast. His slowness feels protective. His stillness feels strong. His silence feels deliberate, not awkward. This does not mean you become robotic. It means you become regulated. Regulation is attractive because it implies control, and control implies safety. If you cannot control your own nervous system, how will you handle pressure? How will you handle conflict? How will you handle her emotions when they fluctuate? These questions are not asked consciously, but they are answered subconsciously through your body language. Your body is your biography. It tells the story of how you see yourself. A collapsed posture tells a story of doubt. Rapid blinking tells a story of anxiety. Constant shifting tells a story of discomfort. But steady breathing, grounded feet, relaxed shoulders tell a story of self-trust. Self-trust is magnetic. And let me make something very clear. Embodiment is not about pretending. You cannot fake groundedness for long. The body always reveals the truth. So this is not about acting confident. It is about becoming stable internally, so your body reflects it externally. That requires discipline. It requires you to slow down your movements intentionally. It requires you to practice sitting without fidgeting. It requires you to become aware of your breathing. It requires you to tolerate silence without rushing to fill it. Silence is a test of embodiment. If you can hold silence without anxiety, you demonstrate strength without saying a single word. And that is what separates boys from men. When a younger woman senses that you are not shaken by her beauty, not intimidated by her youth, not destabilized by social pressure, she becomes curious. Because calmness in a man is rare. It feels solid, it feels anchored. You are no longer competing on appearance, you are competing on nervous system stability. And stability always wins long term. So if you take anything from this, let it be this. Satan, stop trying to look impressive. Start trying to feel grounded. Slow your body down. Plant your feet. Breathe deeply, move with intention, sit without shrinking, stand without stiffening, because the man who fully inhabits his body does not need to chase attention. His presence alone commands it. And when your body stops asking for validation, it starts radiating authority. Now let us move into something even more subtle and far more powerful than most men realize. Your face is not just a physical feature, it is a psychological instrument. It is the screen on which your internal world is projected. And if you do not master it, it will betray you. Many men believe attraction is about sharp jawlines, perfect symmetry, or youthful skin. That is surface level thinking. What truly registers in a woman's mind is not the structure of your face, but the control you have over it. Your expressions reveal your emotional discipline. When you are easily impressed, your eyebrows rise too quickly. When you are nervous, your smile stretches too wide. When you are insecure, your eyes dart away or blink rapidly. When you are seeking approval, you nod excessively, as if begging to be agreed with. These micro expressions happen in milliseconds. You may not even be aware of them, but they are read instantly. Younger women are extremely fluent in reading faces. They grew up decoding social cues in classrooms, online spaces, friendships, and relationships. They have spent years filtering attention from men who react too fast, who compliment too eagerly, who become overly expressive the moment they feel attraction. So, when they meet a man whose face remains composed, whose expressions are measured, whose reactions are intentional rather than impulsive, it feels different. Emotional discipline in the face communicates one thing above all else: self-control. And self-control is rare. Let us break this down psychologically. When your face reacts immediately to everything she says, you are signaling that she has influence over your internal state. If she teases you when you look flustered, she sees instability. If she compliments you and you look shocked, she sees unfamiliarity with praise. If she challenges you and your jaw tightens defensively, she sees ego vulnerability. But when your face remains calm, slightly restrained, attentive but not overeager, you communicate that you are internally steady. This does not mean you become emotionless. It means you respond rather than reactive. There is a profound difference. Reaction is impulsive, response is controlled. When you react, your face moves before your mind decides. When you respond, your mind filters before your face speaks. That pause, that subtle delay, creates psychological weight. A man who can hold eye contact without staring aggressively demonstrates confidence without intimidation. A man who smiles slowly instead of flashing a full grin immediately demonstrates selectivity rather than desperation. A man who listens without over-nodding shows security rather than people-pleasing. And here is where most men make a critical mistake. They think being highly expressive makes them more likable, so they exaggerate friendliness. They overlaugh. They widen their eyes dramatically. They lean into every emotional shift, but excessive expressiveness communicates emotional dependency. It says, I need this interaction to go well. And neediness, even at a micro level, weakens attraction. Attraction thrives on tension. And tension requires restraint. When your facial expressions are slightly reserved, you create intrigue. She cannot immediately decode you. She wonders what you are thinking. She senses depth because you are not emotionally spilling yourself in every second. It is about controlling exposure. What your face controlled exposure. There is also a philosophical element here. To master your facial expressions is to master your ego. It requires you to detach from the urge to prove, to impress, to defend. If someone disagrees with you and your face remains relaxed, you signal intellectual confidence. If someone compliments you and your expression remains steady, you signal familiarity with value. If someone attempts to provoke you and your face does not betray irritation, you signal emotional maturity. That maturity is deeply attractive, especially to younger women who are accustomed to men their age reacting impulsively. Think about this carefully. When a woman sees that her beauty does not overwhelm you, she becomes curious. When she notices that her teasing does not destabilize you, she becomes intrigued. When she realizes that your expressions remain composed under pressure, she feels something most people cannot articulate. She feels safe. Safety does not come from softness alone, it comes from predictability, from steadiness, from knowing that your emotions are not volatile. Your face is the first indicator of that steadiness. There is also an element of dignity involved. When you overreact facially, you give away your internal authority. You surrender your composure, but when you maintain controlled expressions, you maintain dignity as magnetic because it suggests self-respect. And self-respect invites respect. Now, this does not mean you suppress emotion completely. Suppression creates rigidity, and rigidity feels unnatural. The key is moderation, subtle smiles instead of exaggerated laughter, calm eye contact instead of intense staring, relaxed neutrality instead of blank coldness. It is about balance. When you listen, actually listen. Let your face show engagement without exaggeration. Slight nods, gentle shifts, a composed gaze that communicates presence without submission. And understand this clearly. The goal is not to manipulate. The goal is to regulate. If you cannot regulate your facial expressions, it means your emotions are regulating you. That is the real issue. Emotional discipline in your face starts internally. It starts with slowing down your reactions. It starts with becoming aware of your impulses to please or impress. It starts with practicing stillness when you feel triggered. Silence helps. Breathing helps. Awareness helps. When you begin observing your own facial reactions, you will notice how often you give yourself away, how often you reveal insecurity before speaking, how often your eyebrows, your lips, your eyes betray your uncertainty. And once you become aware, you can begin to control. It does not make you less human. It makes you more intentional. And intentionality is attractive because it signals depth. A composed face communicates that you are thinking, not scrambling, that you are evaluating, not chasing, that you are grounded, not overwhelmed. When a woman senses that she cannot easily read every emotional shift on your face, she leans in psychologically. She invests more attention. She tries to understand you. And that shift in dynamic changes everything because attraction grows where certainty is balanced with intrigue. So discipline your face, slow your reactions, hold your gaze, let your expressions be deliberate rather than desperate. Because the man who controls his expressions controls the narrative of how he is perceived. And when your face stops seeking approval, it starts commanding respect. Now let us talk about something most men completely overlook, yet it carries enormous psychological weight. Your voice, your breathing, and the speed of your movements are not small details. They are signals. And those signals speak long before your words do. You can say all the right things, but if your breathing is shallow, your voice will betray anxiety. If your speech is rushed, your tone will reveal urgency. If your movements are quick and reactive, your body will communicate that you are unsettled. Attraction does not respond to words alone. It responds to nervous system cues. Your breathing is the foundation of everything. When you are anxious, your breaths become short and high in the chest. This tightens your throat. It raises the pitch of your voice. It speeds up your speech. Without realizing it, you begin to sound boyish, hurried, slightly out of control. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Younger women are extremely sensitive to vocal instability. They may not consciously analyze it, but they feel it. A fast, thin, rushed voice does not feel grounding. It does not feel protective. It does not feel steady. Now compare that to a man who breathes deeply from his diaphragm. His pauses are natural. His sentences are not competing with silence. His tone is slightly slower than average conversation. Not forced, not artificially deep, just calm. That calmness creates gravity. Gravity is what pulls attention without demanding it. When you speak slowly enough that people must lean in slightly to catch your words, you shift the dynamic. You are no longer chasing engagement. You are setting the pace of the interaction, and the person who sets the pace holds subtle power. Most you. Nudge men rush because they are trying to impress. They stack stories quickly. They fill silence with unnecessary details. They answer questions before they are fully asked. Their energy feels like it is seeking approval. But when you slow down your speech, something different happens. You communicate that you are not afraid of silence, and silence is uncomfortable for insecure people. If you can sit in silence without scrambling to fill it, you demonstrate composure. You show that you do not need constant validation to feel secure. This is deeply attractive because it signals emotional independence. Let us also examine tone. Many men try to artificially lower their voice to sound dominant. That is not what I am advising. Forced depth sounds unnatural. Authentic authority comes from relaxation, not performance. When your jaw is relaxed, when your shoulders are not tense, when your breathing is steady, your natural tone drops slightly on its own. It becomes fuller. It carries weight. You do not need volume. In fact, lowering your volume slightly can increase intrigue. Loudness often signals insecurity disguised as dominance. Calm volume signals control. There is also the matter of pacing in movement. Notice how confident individuals move. They do not rush to pick up their phone. They do not jump immediately when their name is called. They do not react sharply to every external stimulus. Rushed movement is the body language of urgency, and urgency often implies fear of missing out, fear of losing status, fear of not being noticed. Slower movement communicates that your time is valuable, that you are not in competition, that you are operating at your own rhythm. When you reach for something, do it smoothly. When you stand up, do it deliberately. When you walk, maintain a steady pace rather than quick, erratic steps. This does not mean you become slow in a lazy sense. It means you remove unnecessary haste. Haste signals insecurity. Deliberate pacing signals confidence. There is also a psychological effect happening beneath the surface. Humans subconsciously mirror energy. If your energy is frantic, the person interacting with you feels slightly unsettled. If your energy is calm, their nervous system begins to slow down to match yours. When a younger woman feels her own body relaxing in your presence, she associates that feeling with you. She may not articulate it, but she will describe you as grounding, stable, different. Different is powerful. In a world of constant stimulation, constant scrolling, constant noise, a man who moves and speaks with measured control feels rare, and rarity creates value. You must also understand that speed often reveals intention. When you respond too quickly to messages, too quickly to every cue, you signal availability at all times. While responsiveness is respectful, immediacy can sometimes communicate that you are waiting. Waiting energy is not attractive. Balanced pacing is. Pause before you respond. Breathe before you answer. Let your words land rather than stacking them rapidly. This pause communicates thoughtfulness. It shows that you are considering, not reacting. And thoughtfulness feels mature. There is something else most people ignore. When you slow your speech and movements, you create space for tension. That tension is not awkward if you are comfortable. It becomes magnetic. Tension builds attraction because it creates anticipation. If everything is fast, nothing lingers. But when you allow moments to stretch slightly, when your voice drops at the end of a sentence instead of rising nervously, when your movements are smooth rather than sharp, you create a rhythm. Rhythm is seductive because it feels controlled. Ditty, it means you are not pulled by every impulse. If you master your breathing, you master your voice. If you master your voice, you influence the emotional atmosphere. If you influence the atmosphere, you influence attraction. It begins internally. Practice deep breathing daily. Slow your speech intentionally. Record yourself if necessary and observe your pacing. Notice how often you rush. Notice how often you interrupt silence because it feels uncomfortable. Then train yourself to tolerate that discomfort, because the ability to tolerate silence is the ability to tolerate power. When you no longer fear pauses, your words carry more impact. When you no longer rush movements, your presence feels heavier. When your voice remains steady under pressure, you communicate emotional resilience, and resilience is irresistible. So breathe deeply, speak deliberately, move with intention, let your pace reflect your self-control. Because the man who controls his rhythm controls the room. And when your rhythm is calm, the world slows down around you. Now let us address something that seems simple on the surface, yet carries profound psychological weight. Your posture and physical alignment are not just about looking confident. They are about communicating whether you feel threatened by the world around you. Most men underestimate how loudly the body speaks. Before you say a single word, your posture has already introduced you. It has already told a story about how you see yourself when your shoulders are rounded forward and your chest is slightly collapsed. Your body is unconsciously protecting your vital organs. It is a defensive position. It signals caution. It signals self-protection. And while that may feel comfortable, it does not communicate strength. On the other hand, when your shoulders are relaxed but gently back, when your chest is open without being puffed artificially, when your spine is upright but not rigid, you send a completely different message. You communicate readiness, you communicate ease, you communicate that you are not bracing for attack. This matters because attraction is deeply tied to perceived security. Younger women, whether consciously or not, are assessing one central question. Does this man feel stable in himself? Stability is not loud. It is not exaggerated. It is not theatrical. It is subtle alignment. Thiomin re chest to appear dominant and simply standing upright because you are comfortable occupying space. One is performance. The other is embodiment. Performance eventually cracks. Alignment does not. When you artificially inflate your posture, you create tension. Your neck stiffens, your jaw tightens, your shoulders rise unnaturally. It looks forced, and forced confidence feels fragile. But when your posture is naturally aligned, your muscles are not fighting themselves. Your breathing flows easily. Your movements remain smooth. You appear grounded rather than inflated. Grounded men do not look like they are trying to be bigger. They look like they are fully present. There is also a psychological truth embedded here. People shrink physically when they feel inferior. They make themselves smaller when they feel intimidated. They cross their arms tightly when they feel exposed. They angle their bodies away when they feel uncertain. Your body reflects your internal hierarchy. If you walk into a room and subtly compress your frame because someone else appears more attractive or more successful, your body will show it before your mind even registers it. But when you maintain alignment, regardless of who is in front of you, you communicate equality, not arrogance. Equality is attractive because it shows you are not competing for validation. Neti, let us consider sitting posture. Many men collapse into chairs, their spine curves, their shoulders fold inward, their head leans forward toward their phone. This posture communicates disengagement and low energy. Now imagine sitting with your back straight but relaxed, shoulders resting naturally, feet planted firmly on the ground. You are not rigid. You are not stiff. You are simply stable. Visibility is magnetic because it suggests predictability. Predictability in emotional regulation creates safety. Safety allows attraction to grow. When a woman sees that your posture does not change drastically under pressure, she subconsciously registers emotional resilience. If someone challenges you and your body does not recoil, you appear unshakable. If someone compliments you and your posture does not suddenly inflate, you appear balanced. Balance is maturity, and maturity in the body communicates maturity in the mind. There is also a biological layer to this. Open posture exposes the chest and neck, areas that are vulnerable. When you stand openly, you are signaling that you do not perceive threat. That absence of perceived threat suggests confidence in your ability to handle your environment. Closed posture does the opposite. It signals vigilance. It signals insecurity. It signals defensiveness. Defensiveness is rarely attractive because it implies fragility. Let me make something clear. Open posture does not mean spreading yourself excessively or invading space. It means removing unnecessary contraction. It means allowing your body to take up the space it naturally occupies without apology. Many men apologize physically without realizing it. They narrow their stance. They pull their shoulders inward. They minimize their gestures. They angle their bodies submissively. This unconscious shrinking is often rooted in self-doubt. To correct posture externally, you must correct belief internally. You must genuinely believe you deserve to be where you are standing. When that belief strengthens, posture aligns automatically. However, physical practice can reinforce psychological change. Stand against a wall and feel your spine lengthen. Practice walking with steady shoulders and relaxed arms. Become aware of when you collapse and gently correct it. Awareness is the first step to transformation. There is also something powerful about stillness in posture. When you stand without excessive swaying, when you do not shift your weight nervously from foot to foot, you project calm authority. Authority is not about dominance. It is about composure. Composure in posture means your body is not reacting impulsively to every stimulus. It remains centered, and centered men are rare. Younger women are accustomed to men who overcompensate physically, overly wide stances, exaggerated gestures, performative dominance. But exaggerated dominance often masks insecurity. True alignment is quiet. Quiet strength creates curiosity. When your posture remains open and relaxed, even in silence, you signal something profound. You signal that you are not seeking approval. You are not bracing for rejection. You are simply present. Presence in posture is nonverbal confidence, and confidence without aggression feels safe. Safe does not mean boring. It means secure enough to explore connection without fear. Remember this clearly. The body does not lie. If you are internally threatened, your posture will show it. If you are internally grounded, your posture will reflect it. So train both. Open your chest without arrogance. Plant your feet without rigidity. Let your alignment communicate that you are neither shrinking nor performing, because the man who stands comfortably in his own space does not need to push off as out of it. And when you no longer shrink yourself, the world begins to meet you at your full height. Now we arrive at the point that ties everything together. You can have presence in your body. You can discipline your facial expressions. You can master your voice, your breathing, your posture. But if you do not have composure, all of it will eventually collapse under pressure. Composure is the ultimate physical trait because it is the visible expression of inner order. It is not about being emotionless. It is about being unshakable. Most men believe attraction is built in moments of intensity, grand gestures, charisma, bold statements. But long-term attraction is built in moments of pressure. When something unexpected happens, when there is disagreement, when emotions fluctuate, composure is how you behave when the environment changes. If she tests you playfully and you immediately become defensive, composure is missing. If she withdraws slightly and you begin chasing anxiously, composure is missing. If another man enters the room and your energy shifts subtly into comparison, composure is missing. And here is the truth. Most people are uncomfortable admitting. Younger women often test emotional stability unconsciously, not to manipulate, but to assess. They want to know if your strength is real or theatrical. Anyone can appear confident when things are smooth. The real question is what happens when your ego is touched. Do you tighten your jaw? Do you speak faster? Do you seek reassurance? Or do you remain steady? To composure communicates that your identity is not fragile. A fragile identity reacts. A stable identity responds. And that stability is deeply attractive because it suggests emotional leadership, not control over her, but control over yourself. Think about this carefully. When a woman senses that your mood does not swing dramatically based on her approval, she feels something rare. She feels that she is engaging with a man who is internally anchored. Anchored men are not easily pulled into drama. They are not easily baited into arguments. They are not easily destabilized by minor fluctuations. That steadiness creates emotional safety. Emotional safety is not softness alone. It is predictability in strength. It is knowing that if tension arises, you will not explode or collapse. Composure is visible in your body language. Your shoulders do not rise under stress. Your voice does not crack under challenge. Your eyes do not harden in insecurity. Your breathing remains steady, even when emotions intensify. This is why composure is the ultimate physical trait, because it transforms every other trait into something sustainable. Presence without composure becomes arrogance. Controlled expressions without composure become suppression. Slow speech without composure becomes calculated manipulation. Good posture without composure becomes performance. But when composure is genuine, everything aligns naturally. There is also a philosophical depth here. Composure reflects self-mastery, and self-mastery is rare in a culture that rewards impulsivity. We live in a time where immediate reactions are normalized. Instant replies, instant outrage, instant emotional exposure. But a man who can pause, breathe, and choose his response operates at a different level. That pause is power. When you do not react immediately, you demonstrate that your emotions do not control you. You demonstrate that you have space between stimulus and response. And in that space lies maturity. Younger women often encounter men who are reactive, men who are easily jealous, easily offended, easily flattered, easily triggered. But when they meet a man whose emotional state is not easily manipulated, something shifts. They feel curiosity, they feel intrigue, they feel a sense of gravity because composure feels strong. It does not shout, it does not demand, it does not seek validation. It simply remains. Remaining steady while others fluctuate is a rare form of strength. And let me make this very clear. Composure does not mean indifference. It does not mean you do not care. It means your care is not chaotic. It means your affection is not desperate. It means your interest is not unstable. You can express desire without losing control. You can show warmth without surrendering your center. You can experience emotion without becoming consumed by it. That balance is magnetic. Many men believe intensity equals attraction, but intensity without stability feels dangerous. Stability with depth feels secure. Secure attraction lasts longer. Composure also protects your dignity. When you are composed, you do not beg for attention. You do not argue to prove your worth. You do not chase to secure validation. You allow people to reveal themselves while you remain grounded. This grounded stance changes the dynamic completely. Instead of asking, "Does she like me?" your energy becomes, "Does this align with me?" That shift is powerful because the moment you stop seeking validation and start evaluating alignment, you reclaim authority over your emotional world. And authority over your emotional world is visible. It shows in your stillness. It shows in your voice. It shows in your eyes. It shows in how you walk away when something does not serve you. Composure is not passive. It is disciplined. It requires self-awareness. It requires emotional regulation. It requires the humility to observe your own triggers and the strength to control them. But once you cultivate it, you no longer compete physically with younger men. You compete psychologically. And psychologically, strength always outlasts physical advantage. So ask yourself honestly, when pressure rises, do you rise with it, or do you remain steady? When your ego is touched, do you react, or do you observe? When uncertainty appears, do you chase, or do you stand firm? Yeah, because the most irresistible trait you can embody is not youth. It is not perfection. It is not dominance. It is composure under pressure. And when you become the man who cannot be easily shaken, you become the man who cannot be easily replaced.